They swept through cities and kingdoms, riding their dead horses, hunting with their packs of pale spiders, big as hounds.
Hey everybody, it's Charlie. There was a big Game of Thrones panel recently that HBO held where they talked about Season 8 in the Prequel show. There was a whole bunch of news, so we gotta break it down. If you're brand new to the channel, be sure to subscribe to get all the videos. There's also a new round of that 4K Season 1 Blu-ray giveaway. All you have to do to enter that is be a subscriber and leave a comment on the video. So this past week was Comic-Con, but right now the TCAs are happening, so naturally HBO is talking about all the television series that are coming up for the next season. That of course includes Game of Thrones Season 8, naturally all the press that were there were asking about the prequel series because they haven't started shooting that yet. So Casey Bloys is sort of like Mr. HBO when it comes to official press announcements, just sort of laid down the law on what's going on and what the status of everything is. He officially confirmed that Season 8 will be airing during the first half of next year, 2019, which we've all believed for a long time. Last year, Maisie Williams, Emilia Clarke, Sir Davos all separately did interviews, explained the production schedule, and explained how they personally believe we'd be seeing it earlier rather than later next year, like we'd all assume. So set your clocks for late April, early May, at the latest, early June. What'll probably happen is they're not going to unfreeze a block of ice to tell us what's going on. They'll just drop a teaser and the date will be attached to the end of the teaser, maybe later this year, early next year. But the other half of the panel was dedicated to all things prequel series. So we know about the Long Night prequel series, he talked about that, but he also explained what's happening with those other 4 prequels that they were developing. So remember, originally there were 5, we learned about the Long Night, then George R. R. Martin said that one of the other 4 died, leaving 3. One of those 3 was rumored to be The Rise of the Valyrian Freehold. The title was reported as Empire of Ash. But as of this morning, me posting this video, HBO said that the other 4, all of the other 4, aren't happening. So they're either dead or they were crap and HBO doesn't want to make them. They're sitting on a shelf. Maybe some of them will be revisited in future years. But as of right now, the only prequel series we're getting in 2020 will be the Long Night series. Remember, HBO loves Game of Thrones. They have a new edict to crank out even more programming week to week, year to year than they have in the past, meaning they need all the new premium content that they can get. And they just love Game of Thrones. It's the most popular thing that they have. So they would jump at the chance to have 2 concurrent Game of Thrones series. So don't be surprised if in a couple years you hear about another prequel series starting. But it sounds like for the next couple of years it's just going to be the Long Night. Maybe we'll find out what some of those other prequel ideas were. Usually when they shutter something like that, they don't tell you what it was in case they ever want to come back to it. I think everybody's pretty pumped up about the Long Night. It's far enough removed from events in present day that they're not going to step on the toes of anything that the main show has done or that George R. R. Martin is getting ready to do with Winds of Winter and Dream of Spring. He did say that he personally helped produce the Long Night series as it's getting ready to get started, although he's trying to avoid taking credit, just because anything with Game of Thrones in the title is automatically attributed to him regardless of how much or how little he worked on it. So yes, he is involved with the prequel series. It's not like the later seasons of the main show where he sort of stepped away. He's a little more actively involved with what's going on with the Long Night. I think that's mostly to help craft characters, avoid continuity errors in story elements that wouldn't naturally work in A Song of Ice and Fire, things that you wouldn't expect to find in a Game of Thrones series. But HBO said that they have not cast the series yet, and as of right now, they're officially looking for directors to start shooting next year. There was a rumor started by the Belfast Telegraph newspaper a little while ago they might start production as soon as October in Belfast. The part about them filming in Belfast is true, but HBO said that they wouldn't be ready to start till next year. Don't panic. Remember, in earlier seasons, they wouldn't start production until late summer, so as long as the prequel series can start shooting by late summer 2019, they can get Season 1 out by spring 2020. So you have Season 8, spring 2019, then a year later, you get Season 1 of The Long Night, and henceforth, each year after that, 10 episodes. Remember, normal HBO show, 10 episodes per season. That's what we're going back to after all this weirdness the last couple of years with Game of Thrones. So if you're an actor that really wants a job on this prequel series, you still have plenty of time to get your tape to HBO because they haven't started casting yet. As for who the main characters would be, they're probably going to go with a lot of the mythical figures from the Age of Heroes like Bran the Builder, Durin Godsgrief, Lan the Clever, who started House Lannister, the Grey King, the first king of the Iron Islands. You get the idea. The mythical big figures that you've heard about, but who have been distorted through the retelling of legends. So more on that, the plot. They didn't say a whole lot about the actual plot besides the official synopsis they released a little while ago. I've already done a video about that, but they said that they would not be retreading a lot of the stuff that the main series has done. So there's just a couple points of crossover, like the creation of the Night King, the last long night that we experienced. They officially confirmed that the prequel series would be set 8,000 years in the past because there's a weird thing about the way the show treats history and the way the books treat history. It's like tens of thousands of years in the books, but during season 6, when Bran was getting all those lessons from the Three-Eyed Raven, he made it seem closer to 1,000 years. So there's some inconsistency with the way they treat the timeline, but it seems like based on what they've said, the prequel series will adhere more to the timeline that you see in the books. But they did not say what would be happening in present day when the show picks up, whether it would start after the creation of the Night King here, because it's the long night, and that happened after the Night King was created, or if it would pick up with the events of the first war that the Children of the Forest had with the First Men, or if they would treat that like their Robert's Rebellion, where like you just got through a really big war, then you have this big watershed event that begins the long night, and just the entire series is spent as things descend into permanent or semi-permanent winter, because obviously they eventually defeated the Night King. And because we've heard a lot of stories from that period, Martin did directly address how they'd be handling that from a story perspective. So he said, only one thing is sure, from the horrifying secrets of Westeros' history to the true origin of the White Walkers, the mysteries of the East, remember, we'll be dealing with stuff that's happening in the East, like the rise of the Valyrian Freehold, to the Starks of legend, it's not the story we think we know. So it sounds like the stance that they're taking with writing this series is that the tales that we hear from Old Nan have been distorted over time through the oral histories that get passed down generation to generation. So the actual events of how they teamed up to defeat the Night King, Azor Ahai, the Nissa of it all went down different than what we've actually read, just because the Maesters weren't around till much, much later in history. During Samwell's storyline at the Citadel with Maester Ebrose, even they questioned the accuracy of history from that period.
The tales of the Long Night can't be pure fabrication. Too many similarities from unconnected sources. The end of the Targaryen dynasty. How will we survive? When Aegon Targaryen turned his eye westward and flew his dragons to Blackwater Rush, the end is near. How will we survive? And thousands of years before that, during the Long Night, we can forgive them for thinking it truly was the end, but it wasn't.
So I think that also kind of confirms why they probably dropped the Valyrian prequel that they were working on, because they can just do that on this series, because there are a lot of overlapping events between the Rise of the Freehold and the first Long Night. So if you have any special requests for Game of Thrones videos, leave them in the comments below and let me know, like, what do you want them to do on this main show based on what we already know about that period in history? It would be really exciting if they end the series with the creation of the Wall, like the way that they destroyed the Wall at the end of the main show. Maybe they create it at the end of the prequel series. But as we get more info about it, I'll do new videos. Congratulations to the latest giveaway winner, Josh Friend. Please email me on the back end of my channel so I can get your contact details. Click here for that Maisie Williams video, and click here for all my Comic-Con trailer videos. Thank you so much for watching. Everybody stay awesome. I'll see you guys tonight.